So I am starting my second floor remodel, and I brought a lot of you along for this. I've done it in stories, but I'm getting a lot of questions, so I thought, let's do a video, show a kind of before tour. Now remember, this tour, it's already demoed upstairs, so you're gonna see the nitty-gritty mess. The finishing demo of the first removal of everything is gonna finish up here in the next couple days. So I thought before any framing happens or windows get changed, let's see it where it's at, so you kind of have in your head. So in the future, in a few months, maybe quite a few months, when it's done, you see. This is at the bottom of my stairway. It can be pretty contained because it has plastic put over zippers, so I rolled this up so you could get up easily. There's paper down for where any workers come in and get over to the stairway. So it's not too bad downstairs, honestly. It's just getting up there. So let's go up, and you're gonna see already that the walls are gonna be exposed. The stairs are covered because those are good, but let's go on up and see everything that's going on. It really isn't that bad or that messy, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you where we're at and see the real, details of it. So a lot of you probably hadn't been in my upstairs too much. I never did too many stories or anything up here just because I didn't spend, obviously too much time up here. It was a couple bedrooms, a room I used as an office. What this all started as was my electric is really bad. This house originally didn't have electric in it when it was built in the late 1800s. So you can see they first had gas or oil lamps coming to each room. And then at some point it was switched over to knob and tube, which is this cloth covered wiring. Some of this is still original. And when they did that, what you really notice is, they popped up floorboards in certain places, and some of them they just decided not to even replace. This is how we found it when it was demoed. So from when the electric was brought in the early 1900s, this stud has just been hanging out literally. So the reason I really got into this was I had an electrician that I wanted to do a couple things up here a few years ago, and he said, I can't touch this as it is because a lot of the wiring was just not in a good place. So that started the ball rolling, and insulation issues, all those things lead to other things. And honestly, I need an office where I do a lot of typing with post writing, recipe writing, so I needed that space. So that's kind of how all this started. Originally, I will give you a quick layout here. Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, what I call office, which at one time would have been a bedroom. And then in front of me or behind you is what I used as a bathroom. Originally, when this house was built, this room would have been a bedroom also. There would have been no indoor plumbing. At some point in history, they made it into a bathroom. The toilet is still in place. I think it's coming out here in the next couple days. But they made this into a bathroom, and so it was a sizable bathroom. The footprint of the bathroom is gonna stay pretty much the same. There is gonna be a window put in right here, so I get some morning light in here. That will be really nice, because this is the bathroom I use all the time. Otherwise, toilet is staying where it was. It's getting switched out, but it's staying there. Vanity will stay somewhat the same, and then shower will kind of stay where it was too, which you can see the old plumbing. It will have to be different plumbing, but the footprint where everything was will stay the same. There'll be some storage in the bathroom. I live in an old house, obviously, so storage is kind of a big issue. That's what I'm trying to, I'm not adding in traditional closets per se, but some of the cabinetry or built-ins I'm putting in are gonna act as closets so I can actually have some of that. So why don't you come on over to a bedroom, we'll talk about that. So we're back in a hallway, and we're gonna come into what I call bedroom number 1. Originally, there was a small closet in this room. I'm gonna slightly just reconfigure that a little bit and put in 2 big cabinets that can be used as closets on either side of this window. Originally, I was hoping, and I know a lot of you mentioned this on stories, you can see I don't have an attic space that can be used. I can't fully stand up in it. I'm 6'1", and in the very center, I can just about stand, but there's not really a lot of headspace with my hip roof to stand. What you'll also see is I did a reel. Originally, it had a flat spot on the roof. That was just a stylistic when they built the house in the late 1800s. It was kind of mimicking a widow's walk, which is an East Coast style that originally people used to go out and watch, the sea for their family to come back home or things like that. This was just used for looks. It was made back into a peak on the roof years and years ago. But since I thought maybe I could just vault some rooms up here or raise the ceiling, I really can't. It was an engineering issue. The way it was framed, it really just didn't work best without quite a bit more expense, and I decided it just wasn't quite worth it. So what they've been doing is taking out all the old insulation. It's not that it was necessarily bad, it just wasn't the best efficiency. And since I was gonna remodel anyway, do some window work, do some electrical work, it just makes sense to update the insulation too. This is the original lath. So old homes, especially in the Midwest, and this goes for a lot of areas, had this lath that they would put up. These are all little pieces of wood that they would put up, and then they would eventually put on this kind of cement type plaster mixture over the top that would adhere and go in between all the cracks. Over time, that starts to fail. So up here, I had walls that I could go up and kind of jiggle because it was starting to break away from the lath. Just one of those things. You know, on an old house, you have to move into an old house, or if you're gonna live there, know these things could be happening and could be coming down the line. So those are things that we all hope we don't have to do, but we do. Now, usually I would go out into the hall for the other bedroom. You know what, even though the wall isn't here, I'm still gonna go out into the hall. Going into bedroom 2, I'll kind of show you. So this is one of the floorboards. This was covered up with a different wood floor too, but you can tell what they did was they made it so it popped out, and this is how they brought electric originally up into the house. And some of that original electric is still being used, and it's just apparently not the safest. So those are the things that are kind of fun to find, but also you're like, oh, that's why it needs to be changed. This bedroom, they pretty much mimic each other. There's not too much difference here. It's just a standard bedroom, but it works well. You know, a lot of people assume a farmhouse is always massive and huge, and while this house is, I'm very comfortable in it, it actually is just very, to me, efficient. It has just enough rooms, and I'm making it, you know, some people be shocked that I'm taking one of the rooms and gonna make it an office, but a house has to work for you. And that's what I'm gonna do with this. I'm doing it the way I would wanna do it, and it's working for me. So this room is becoming my office. We could call it Wise Guide office, but not really, it's just my office. And so in here, let's talk about what we're gonna do. So in here, one of the big changes is gonna be this wall is actually coming out. It's not structural, that's wonderful. What's gonna be happening, you can see our actual joists run this way, and so the wall is not, you know, a big supporting wall, which is good. This is coming down, the rail, the new rail lean around the stairway will continue all around this open area. And this is gonna just make a really nice open office to feel conducive. You know, since I'm gonna be in there a lot, you wanna make sure it feels like a place you wanna be. So another way to do that is gonna be adding a window right here to this wall. And honestly, at first I was like, oh no, we can't do that. And I just talked with my contractor because I was talking about what is this massive board going through it. He says no big deal. It's honestly, since it was a stick framed house, it was built on site with wood back when they built it. They would do things like this when they were putting walls together to make sure they wouldn't move before they had the whole house done. Then the sheeting on the outside of the house is what finally kept the house in good standing. So a piece like this really isn't needed anymore. So I'm making a window here because the desk will be right here. I'll be able to look outside at the backyard, which means in the summer, I'll be looking and thinking, I just wanna go outside and not be inside. That's just how I am. Other interesting things. So all this cord covered wiring just comes up and is then rewired to some type of new wiring at one time. You know, things can be done safely, and sometimes things like this aren't done safely. A lot of this isn't done safely. So it's one of those things where some of the windows were starting to leak. They're replacement windows, but they're old now. That's just what happens. So some of these sills will have to be redone when the windows are redone. But you can really see, I wanted to make sure that you saw the now. So as things progress down the line, or as I do more stories, you'll see where it's going. I like to have a base kind of like feel for it. I know I was showing some of you when you were following on stories, like paint colors I was thinking of, and all of those are what you get excited for. But it's this process right now that is the part you have to get through before you can get to that exciting stuff. I always think with remodels, you know, you work for a long time, you save for them, you think about them, and then you hope they're just gonna happen really fast. They don't. But you know, really, they shouldn't, because you want them to be done well. So, you know, little things like, this was originally how you would get up to, if you needed to the attic. I never had gone up in there, and they're gonna actually move where that was. But one of the interesting things was, you can see at one time, you can't see it from down here that well, but there was some type of fire, most likely a chimney fire, because at one time there was a chimney here to the furnace originally. And you can see there's charred wood up there. but aren't we glad the house stood? Otherwise, I wouldn't be living here. You know, it's things like that you find and you appreciate. You see the beautiful construction, you see the good quality of wood. And what I love most about something like this is instead of knocking a house down, I love the idea that after me, someone else can live here for a long time and it will just keep continuing. So this is what it looks like currently. This is where we're at. In the next weeks, months, a lot will be changing, but the heart of it's gonna stay the same. The woodwork is gonna match the original woodwork. That's important to me. The windows are gonna be what were in here originally, all those things. And it will be like it should. So I'll keep bringing you along. I'll keep showing you what's happening. But now you know where we're starting at. So it'll be more appreciative of the end when it comes.